Welcome to NASPA Tonight. I'm your host, Josh Greenway. This is the Facebook live show where we talk about all things Scrabble. I am joined by a very special guest, Jackson Smylie. Jackson, how are you?
I mean, it's kind of weird we didn't do our usual intro.
We
didn't talk about that.
We
but
don't
I
have
assume
the
we're going to do
clock
the
here.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while since you've been here, Jackson. We've tried to tighten things up.
Things have changed.
But I really feel like you're the guest of anyone who needs no introduction.
Thank you. I feel right at home here.
You've been on probably 35 or more episodes of NASPA Tonight. But just in case people are tuning in for the first time, you are one of the highest rated players in North America. You're a Scrabble expert, as it says underneath your name there. And I don't know, what else should we know about you?
Pretty much it. Go to school.
Go to school, a little bit of work.
Yeah, classic life.
So, in terms of Scrabble news, what we're going to talk about is there was a little Scrabble tournament recently called the North American Scrabble Championship that we both attended. You played.
I played, yeah.
Played.
I know. I don't know if you can call it playing.
and I worked. But we had a good time out there. I want to welcome everybody. People are coming in. I want to let everybody know that we're going to talk about a couple of things here about the NASC and young Jackson's performance. But also we want to encourage questions. So if people have questions for Jackson, if you want to start loading those into the comments, I'll remind people later as we get into that section.
I'll do it 2 truths, 1 lie style. So every third question, I'm just going to throw a curveball answer.
Nice. So here's the deal. Tonight, we want to put you on the NASPA hot seat.
This is new. Oh, my God.
So the idea is everybody wants to know what happened. All right? I know maybe not everybody, but if you didn't watch the show, Jackson went into the North American Scrabble Championship as the number 1 seed, as essentially, by some rankings, the favorite to win it, or if not the favorite, maybe the second favorite to win it. And that didn't happen, right? You didn't
Not
win
quite.
it?
I was really close after the first game, and then everything went downhill.
Okay, so we're going to get into a bit of a game-by-game process. Will really likes the graphic, by the way. I think I could have done a better job here, Will, but I appreciate the compliment. That is the theme of the night, is putting Jackson on the hot seat. So what we're going to do is very quickly is we are going to run, this is a 1-minute video, which is before NASC happens. This was in the week before we did an interview. It was like a 15-minute interview that I've cut down to 1 minute for this purpose. So hopefully you guys can enjoy this. I'm joined by Jackson Smylie, the number 1 seed of the North American Scrabble Championship. Now, you've been away, is that right? Where have you been?
Yes, so I was tree planting in northern Ontario for 2 months.
Yeah, so this was part of a larger plan to tank at Nationals, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I was getting too good. That was the problem.
So you went away for 2 months, but obviously you would have had Ziziva and Aerolith and like all these tools to keep your skills sharp. Is that right?
I mean, you would think.
Okay, so now you're trying to make up for 2 months of not studying, not playing either.
Yeah, not playing.
Into like a week before we go into Nationals.
Yeah, so I haven't been studying super hard.
Right, so how do you like your chances going into this event?
Technically speaking, I'm not going to be as prepared as I would be otherwise.
Heading into Nationals, what's going on with your hair? Because I feel like that's changed.
Well, a haircut is coming soon.
So what happened to the haircut?
Well, I did the haircut, and then it grew back, and now it looks the exact same as before. So we've come full circle. New haircut's going to happen soon, don't worry. All my hair fans out there.
Nice. And what is your strategy when it comes to your hair? Because this is one of the things that I think people know you by: your colorful shirts and your hair. Like, what's going on? This is just young person stuff? Is that what's going on?
Young and poor person stuff, I guess. I just get the cheap Chinatown haircuts.
Me too.
Yeah, I know it. Tried and true method, right?
Yeah.
It worked equally well, clearly. No, I mean, I dyed my hair purple. I was tree planting,
Yes.
and then the purple faded out in like 5 days. I assume because I was sweating so much, and the sweat must have done some magic. And then I was left with blonde hair.
Well, I think that's a good place to talk about tree planting.
Yeah.
So obviously I was making light in that video in terms of this being a plan to tank nationals, that it really seemed like a questionable decision heading into a nationals where you were so highly ranked and the expectations were so high.
Yeah.
But I get the impression you didn't really give that much thought. You were interested in the experience of tree
Yeah.
planting, stuff like that. Maybe you can talk
Well,
about
I
that.
definitely did give it thought. I was well aware what like the schedule was going to be. We were going to be planting trees for all of May and all of June, and so I wouldn't be getting that much practice for nationals. But I never really considered not doing it because of that. I still figured I would have a bit of opportunity to study while planting, and I felt like, this is a cool enough experience. I have to do that. If it makes me play a bit worse at nationals, so be it. Obviously, it was a concern though, for sure, and it definitely took some concerted effort while planting to actually do some studying, because for like the first half while I was there, I did basically none, because it's very easy not to study when you're
Yes.
out in the woods and like tired and then trying to hang out with people. So after a while, I ended up getting into this little rhythm where I would do a bunch of words on the bus ride from our campsite to the area where we plant trees, and that was like a solid 45 minutes usually. And I had my book of bingos and stuff, so I would get through 1,000 words.
What would the other planters say? What was that conversation like?
They were like, "This is weird,
Right.
but this is cool. Go get it. Win." So a couple of them were actually watching. They followed along a bit on the
Great.
online coverage.
Fantastic. So, the tree planting thing, did you, go and make friends for life? That sort of thing? What are we talking about here?
I don't know about friends for life. We're all from different places, but we get along really well. So friends for the trees, at least.
Okay, that's nice. And you got a tattoo, right?
I got a tattoo. I won't give the finger to a camera. I like to do it usually.
And that is, I think you referred to that as a planter's tattoo.
Yeah, it's
or
like the
something?
mark of a tree planter. If you see this tattoo, someone's a tree planter.
Yeah, no, interesting.
So, but yeah, back to nationals, definitely a concern. And the biggest response I get when people find out I tanked nationals is that oh, well, this is what you get for going away and planting trees.
Well, and I think that's what I wanted to cover. We're going to talk about a couple of the different theories as we go through the show. But to begin with, you gave a nationals report on Facebook.
Yeah.
And so I want to quote you here. You say it didn't go that well, and then you say some people say it's 'cause I went planting for 2 months. That's 2 months away from the board with only some paper word lists I was able to do on the bus ride to our planting site. This certainly affected my preparation. Whoa, this is still the same sentence. But I also felt like my mindset was pretty good because of it. Being away from the board for so long was probably the biggest issue. It seemed to lose a lot of the ease of consistently finding all the options. So you don't say, and what I think is interesting about that is you don't say that this was the cause, but maybe it was a contributor.
Yeah, I mean, calling some lone thing the cause is probably not the right way to approach this. Whenever you do badly at a tournament, you can usually not blame it on one thing. It's usually multiple things. Because there's so many different things that can go well or go badly. It's hard to say oh, this is the one factor out of the many factors that went badly that cost everything.
Okay, so we'll get into some of those factors.
So I do think that the word study part was actually the least of the issues while planting. And I do think that my mindset was in some ways better. Planting trees itself is 9 hours of straight focus. And that's kind of what nationals is. So there's a parallel there for sure. And then also, but I think the being away from the board was the hugest concern. I know a lot of people don't think about playing Scrabble as studying. They only think of word study. But if you don't play Scrabble at all for 2 months, things just become way harder again. Things that used to be easy become hard. You just miss things. You're confused more often. It just felt like I had to really play a lot of catch up just to get my brain back to where it was before.
Well, Jonathan Lynn says correlation is not causation. So
yes, correlation is not causation.
I think that means he's in your corner.
Yes.
I do want to bring up the fact, I think it's important to talk about what the performance was like. You finished 15 and 16. Is that correct?
It's correct.
So you mentioned in your nationals report, you said, I went 15 and 16 as the top seed, if that's not the worst a top seed has ever done at nationals, it's certainly close to it. Now, luckily, we have a special contributor who was able to give us some information on this. And so let's get into this here. Okay, so
Get two of us.
yeah, can you see? How
Sure,
are we in the
whatever.
middle? I don't know. That's super weird. Okay, so here's a list of all the number one seeds going back to 1983.
It's pretty cool.
Okay, so this is, you can go through this and take a look at how all the seeds did, what their records were, what place they came in,
Yeah.
how big the field was, stuff like that. Now, this was, did I already mention that Joey Malik put this
You
together?
didn't, no.
Okay,
But
so Joey
no one's
Malik, I
surprised.
reached out to Joey Malik, and he pulled all this information for me and got it all set up, which is fantastic. So big thanks to Joey Malik, who actually hit me up at Nationals. I don't think he knew NASPA Tonight was a thing
Oh, cool.
until Nationals, and he's like, "I want to be on the show."
Nice.
So I said, "Yeah, we'll get that done at some point. In the meantime, can you do some?" Anyway, so I did some rudimentary percentages
Okay.
based on this information.
Sure.
So, of the top seeds, there are 27 nationals that this covers. 11 of those top seeds won. So, about 41% of the time, the top seed wins nationals.
Okay.
In terms of top five finish, 63%
Wow.
finish in the top five. Top 10, 78% of number
Make
one
me feel
seeds.
bad.
Yeah, that's what they showed. That's the episode, the theme of the episode. And the percentage of number one seeds with a winning record at nationals, 100%.
Wow. So I'm a trendsetter, basically.
So
From now
you were
on.
you were right on the notion that this was, by win percentage, the worst performance at a nationals by a number one seed.
Yeah.
Your ranking of 32nd, there was only one person who was lower than 32nd, but
Yeah.
they had a winning record and they were in a field of 149.
Yeah. Looks like Brian Capoletto.
That's
That's excusable. So I
right.
did Brian's record plus 4 losses.
Exactly. So I just wanted to give people context
that's pretty interesting.
as to what train wreck, what size of train wreck we're
Yeah.
talking
This was
about.
a literally bad tournament. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, let's get rid of that. That was crazy that we were in there twice. Okay, so I think we've covered that. What I want to get to next is we're going to go through the tournament game by game. And one of the things we did, because we talked, we talked in that week before, and we were like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if like you had a great nationals and we had like video behind the
Yeah.
scenes as the tournament went along.
It's like we jinxed it.
That's right. Exactly. Okay, so the first
Let's do
thing
it.
we're going to take a look at, we're going to get rid of this hot seat here, and we're going to bring up your first game. So I don't know
Yeah.
how well people can read that at home.
Good memories. That was a good point in my life right here.
That's right. So you win the game by 15,
Yeah.
and you give us a little breakdown as to what happened that game. So I
check
think
it
we
out.
should take a look at that.
So I was about to lose the entire game, basically. Got double blanked. He was hitting plays all over the place. I was definitely dead. I ended up fishing, and I didn't hit my bingo. My only chance of winning was that he would mess up. He was forced to make some weird play, and I got him by 15 points. But that was stressful as hell. Yeah, I'm happy to have stolen my first game of nationals. It's gonna happen eventually, so I'm glad it happened right now. I
So-
love the fire.
So that was your first game. You narrowly
Yeah.
eked out a win.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think you can tell from that video. I mean, maybe that video you kind of give that sort of response at any tournament where the first game it looks like you're going to lose, but you manage to pull it out. Do you detect any concern in that video at this point?
Well, I was a bit concerned actually. I think that game kind of threw me off because I think in your first game of nationals you want an easy game, or at least you want a game where you're not struggling. But that was a total struggle of a game. all the way through, I was expecting to lose until like the last turn. So I was already just a bit, wary. And I also realized Alex Seaholm actually told me after the game that I missed a bingo. So that was nice. I chickened out on Wales.
That's what you want to hear.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. So I was on tilt for the next 31 games.
Okay, so, all right.
Yeah,
now,
that's fine.
Let's move on to the rest of the morning. So if you don't know, Nationals, 7 every day, 4 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. So the next time we talk with you is after you finished 4 games. Okay? So the next 3 games, here's how they go. You get a win against Michael Fagan and a loss against Sid, a pretty significant loss against Sid, and then an even more significant loss against Cesar.
Yeah, the wheels came off against Cesar.
So why don't we go to that video and then we can talk about that performance. So the morning could have gone better. You won 2 games.
Yeah.
But you also lost 2 games.
Yeah, my spread's like minus 400 or something. Well, I took a big loss to Sid. That was an 184-point loss to Sid. That was my big loss. And then I lost to Cesar by 315. Well, I actually haven't drawn a blank yet, which is pretty funny. In 4 games. But I've made a big mistake in every game, which kind of sucks. I feel like I'm playing really well, except like this big blip once every game where I just completely fail. I will until after I played a phony 4 against Cesar. And when he challenged, I was immediately like, swore out loud. I was tilted for like a turn, and then I calmed down. I feel good. I feel like I'm ready to play good Scrabble.
Wow. Wow, my mindset was so good at that point.
I know,
oh
it's
my
pretty
God.
positive. I mean, just the fact that you go, I haven't drawn a blank yet, so that's pretty funny. I find that an interesting line.
Yeah.
That's probably not what you were thinking.
Sort of what I was saying. Like, you don't want to be that person who's just like, oh, I haven't drawn a blank yet. Like,
yeah, no kidding.
But I had to slip it in there somehow.
The key is, what's your advice for people watching? Don't complain about tiles, right? That's the last thing you
I
want to
complained far too much there. Like, you shouldn't even mention it to people. You shouldn't even think about it at all. If you do notice it, and if it does bother you, let it bother you. It sucks to not draw a blank, but then don't let that affect your decision making.
I think this is an important public service announcement. Like, it is really tough. You can't get sucked into thinking about tiles and certainly talking about tiles. When I played the most games in NASPA in 1 year, where I played 510 games, I track, normally in my tracking, if I kept it up to date, but I track how many blanks and stuff like that. So after 510 games, I drew 256 blanks so 256 versus 254 for my opponents.
Wow.
So you go over a long period of time, it's gonna be even.
Yeah, and I think the main reason to not complain about blanks is not even to keep your mind intact. It's really because no one cares at all. You're just going to piss everyone off if you complain about blanks.
Let's look at your next tranche of games, because we don't talk at the end of that day, and we don't talk until after lunch of the second day.
Right.
So this is going to take us through game 11, and right now you're 2-2. So I'm going to bring up these games here. And over this stretch, you go 5-2 to run your record to 7-4. You take a loss versus Seth, and you take a loss versus Tom. But otherwise, this is good, right?
Yeah, this is a good comeback, you could say. Absolutely.
So let's watch the video where you talk about this stretch.
11 rounds in, I'm 7-4. So I went 3-1 this morning.
Okay.
It was acceptable. I still made the same big blunders as I was yesterday. That was something I was trying to stop today, but I wasn't able to stop it. Still played a few phonies. But yeah, I feel like, things are looking up a bit. We got some more work to do the afternoon. I'm in 12th, as far as I know.
Gotcha.
So we'll see. Hopefully I can check in with something even better. There's a plan. It involves winning some games.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Beth Mix, by the way, says it's nice of you to relive this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not nice for me, but...
Well, it's nice for me. So, 7-4, but you're obviously talking about blunders.
I am. That was the big theme of the tournament, where I was making big blunders. Obviously, everyone makes big blunders, but it was far more than I would accept, far more than I'm okay with. And it was weird. At the time, I really felt like I was playing pretty well, except for these big blunders, and I didn't really know how to stop them.
Right.
So it was kind of a weird
And so
situation.
give us an example of blunders. This is playing
So
phonies.
playing a phony,
Right.
challenging a word, missing a bingo. Those are the main 3 big blunders you can talk about.
Okay, so I want to ask about playing phonies.
Yeah.
Do you feel like playing phonies was a part in running your rating up to like 2160 or whatever it was?
Definitely a part, for sure. You kind of get a sense of, especially in the area you play in, like who you can phony, who you can't phony. And if you can get good at kind of intuiting that, you can kind of stay on the edge of phonying the whole time and get an advantage of it overall. But at Nationals, though, I got completely destroyed on phonies. Everyone was challenging me. They were challenging my intentional phonies. They were challenging my unintentional phonies. So, yeah, it definitely did not work at Nationals.
Would you say that you are addicted to playing phonies, and are you looking to change that?
I'm looking to change it now. When I was just starting in Scrabble, like 10 years ago or something, I played a lot of phonies, and I got a reputation.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of work and a few years of not phonying to get rid of that reputation. And I think I have it back now. So, so I think it's time just to take a little bit of a break.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about now the afternoon. You're 7 and 4 after the second morning, and now we're going to take a look at the afternoon. Now, the other interesting thing about this day is it's Musicale Day.
Oh, that's not a good day for my...
So talk about your history of Musicale Day.
Well, I just have a history of doing very badly on the day of the Musicale.
And why do you think that is? Or
I don't know. Maybe it's... well, the only thing I can really say is I end up usually like not doing the Musicale because I'm feeling terrible.
And
for
you
some
usually
reason.
have planned like a musical.
Yeah,
number
I'm
with
usually
Josh
like
Jr. or whatever.
yeah, or like
it is.
I'll play something. But every year I've just been like, oh my god, I need to curl up in a ball right now. And this year was no exception. I still felt terrible, but it was, you know, I was in a better state of mind for some reason.
Okay,
so I still went.
Let's look at the afternoon session. You drop 2 games and win 1, so that's going to put you at 8 and 6, which is got to be troublesome.
It's the whole way. It's like on the edge of dire, but not quite there.
Okay, so the key here is you'll notice a change in the tenor of the interviews.
Really?
Because you're not coming to me anymore, like the plan was. Like, oh, it's time to do the interview. I'm now catching you at the Musicale.
Oh, okay.
And you're being a little less forthcoming with your answers. You're keeping your answers a little shorter, stuff like that. So let's take a look, because I think this is really where you start to feel the difference. What was your record on Musicale Day?
My record was 4 and 3, which is probably the best I've ever done on
You
Musicale.
broke the curse of the Musicale?
Curse. I broke the curse by like poking my head above the water for a tiny breath of air and then sunk right back in.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't really down to talk the details there.
That's right. You were more wanted to tickle the ivory.
Yes, for sure. Actually, I remember that now. I didn't remember the interview when you mentioned it, but now I remember it, and I remember feeling like I just wanted to be in my zone. I was like, I don't really want to talk about being 8 and 6.
Okay, so now this next interview is taken mid-morning the next day after another 3 games.
Okay.
You're about to sit down at table 1. That's where this interview takes place for game 18. But your results for 15 through 17 were actually 2 and 1. So you're now 10 and 7, which still is.
It's like I need to make a break. At some point, I need to make a break, but
that's
we're
right.
sitting there.
So, and now you're sitting in game 18. You're matched up against Will Anderson, who I think has the lead at that point.
Yeah.
So you'll notice in this interview, I do most of the talking, and it's kind of difficult to hear you and Will because you're a little farther away, and I think you just don't want to talk that much because there's probably a game going on the Collins table behind you, stuff like that. But this is a short interview from table 1. Let's take a look at that now.
I don't think you put the thing on.
Oh, right. Sorry.
We're going to catch the video and then...
There we go. All right, so this is a big game. What round is this?
18.
Round 18. Will, You're sitting in the number 1 spot, I believe. Jackson, you need this game, right?
Yeah.
Have you guys met on the board before, or this is the first time?
This is the first time.
Over the board game. How exciting.
Okay, this is going to be exciting.
Yeah.
Good luck to both of you.
Thanks, Josh.
Let's play Scrabble.
So you switched up the fire image. Is it because it's like simmering and?
Yeah, well,
No
I
longer
think the previous
explosion?
one was the nuclear explosion because it just felt like at that point things weren't going that well.
Yeah.
How did you do in that game against Will?
I lost, and that was not a good game to lose. I remember thinking I saw I was matched up against Kenji and then Will, and I was like, I need to win these 2 games. And
Right.
I lost to Kenji, and I was like, I can get away with winning this game, and I didn't win.
So here's the next set of games that begin with game 18 and go all the way to 24, which means we don't talk at the end of day 3, and I don't catch you until mid-morning of day 4, a
Yeah.
full 24 hours later.
Yeah.
Like your media availability is slipping away at this point. So let's take a look. Here's the record. You go 1-6 over this period, and a real stretch in there where you take the loss to Will, you take the loss to Matt Canick. I mean, these are your buddies. These are people who are rooting for you, and to some degree. What is that like when you're facing? And you said you also lost the game to Kenji, I think, in 17. So
Yeah.
that's like 3 in a row of people who are certainly Jackson Smylie supporters. So
Yeah.
what is that interaction like?
Well, it's more like over the board. I wouldn't really say they're supporters at that point. It's not like they're rooting against me actively, but we're
Right.
definitely both trying to win.
Of course.
Playing Kenji and Will, I felt at least okay losing because I knew that they both had a good shot to win, and it was something they both really wanted to do, and they'd like worked towards.
Okay.
Losing to Matt was the most painful game of my life. If you want to check it on Cross Tables, you'll see why it was the most painful game ever.
Give us a preview. Why?
so-
What's the tease? You don't have to
Yeah,
give the whole thing
so
away, but
the
you
tease-
should check out Jackson's annotated.
Yeah,
games.
sure, check it out. Well, the tease is that was my 9th loss, which is basically when you're out of the tournament.
We'll get it.
Yeah.
We've actually got some
Oh,
of that
really?
in the
Okay.
interview. Yeah.
And then, like, he made 3 challenge mistakes, and then still won because I made an error in the pre-end game. And it was one of those games where I knew I'd messed up somewhere, but I didn't know exactly how, and it was just awful.
Okay, so let's get into this interview, and this is a tough interview, so just steel yourself, all right?
Sure.
I think there's some Kleenex over there, but let's get into this interview here. Too much pressure. Mm-hmm. That's the idea.
That's probably it. There's only so much a young man can take. Yeah, he's also just. I mean, it's not luck. It's like timing.
Yeah, some shit just didn't go right. I don't know. So you have 8 losses, it's like, I can run the table and win this tournament. Then you get to 11 losses, and it's like, oh, I can run the table in cash. And then you hit magic number 13, where you can't do shit and you're not gonna cash. And that's where I'm at.
See, I feel like we needed like a crumbling emoji. Like,
So
Yeah.
that was a sad interview.
Definitely a sad interview.
I like you with tree planting. I never considered not including it tonight, but I feel a little bit badly about it because
it's
it's
fine.
a tough moment.
No, yeah.
I appreciate that Josh Jr. was in there with you, standing by with you. Josh Jr. says, "Ouch!"
Yeah.
after watching that, basically speaking for you. Stuff like that. So
Yeah.
this is obviously
Yeah.
you go through that 1-6 stretch.
Yeah, and I think after I lost to Matt Canick, and I was like out of winning, I pretty much was on tilt and I was just like, whatever. I was still trying a bit, but like it wasn't, that's when the tournament's over for me. But I think I'm glad you included it. I think it's good if people realize that there's a lot of emotion in Scrabble.
Oh, yeah.
Like for nationals especially. So yeah, don't hide behind the sadness.
For sure. So, and we'll just very quickly, that's it for the interviews. But we'll quickly show you then go on to finish 4 and 3 in the last bunch of games, dropping a few there. But to finish 15 and 16. And probably tough to lose that last one. You probably wanted to get 4 in a row to at least get that winning record. What is that? I know what that feels like for me. I think in my first nationals, I went 15 and 16 in a much lower division. But I really wanted that last game. Like 16 and 15 feels a lot different than 15
It
and
really
16.
does. And you know, I remember I was sitting down at the table before playing trials, and I was thinking about how this was going to decide whether I had a winning or losing record. And obviously 15-16 looks way better. It's kind of like, oh, you had a rough go of it, but you know, still respectable. You finished with a winning record. And I think there's part of me that wanted to finish with a losing record. Not that I didn't blow the game. I still tried very hard, but I think there was a part of me that was hoping that I could just sort of like cap off this terrible tournament in a terrible way.
Yeah, I know what that's like. Not so much with Scrabble, maybe a little bit for me, but more with gambling.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
where I'm just like, okay, you idiot.
Yeah.
You've lost all this money, so just go lose the rest of it, and then you can be done.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So I think that's interesting. Will also points out that in 2018, when he was defending his champion, that he was out in the hallway quackling games in between games and just in total dejection and not being able to understand midway through.
Yeah, like that's the kind of state you'll be in. It really makes you feel like you've forgotten everything you know. Everything is like upside down. It's really, even now I still feel like I don't even understand Scrabble at all. It's a very weird feeling.
So I think the other thing that is worthwhile talking about here, and people may have seen this on Facebook, and I want to remind people, if you've got questions for Jackson, we're going to go into that section in a little bit, but we're going to kind of wrap this part up. So throw your questions into the comments. Josh Jr. says at 16 and 15, people are like, well, you were positive, so it's somewhat worse because you expected so much more of yourself. And this is the point that I wanted to get into. So, and I want to talk about Kenji here, who has been a mentor of yours. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure.
And honestly, I mean, not that Kenji has been a mentor to me, but we worked together on a bunch of different kind of social angles and stuff like that. I've really appreciated his insights on things, so I can understand a little bit of what's going on there. Now, Kenji, he came in, what position did he come in?
5th.
Right. So I was there videoing the award ceremony. And he came up and people were applauding him for coming in 5th. And he said, sorry, I sucked, everyone. Okay, as he was walking up. I don't think many people heard it, but he was right by me when he said that. And he made a Facebook post where he talked about how, and it was more of a personal thing for him, that 5th was a really tough position to be in.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And there was a lot of talk back and forth where people were like, oh, well, there are all these positives and blah, blah, blah. Can you articulate at all sort of when these expectations are so high? And I'm happy to hear from Will here as well.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the difference here? Because even if you come in 18 and 13, you're not going to be happy.
See, I think I'm in a bit of a different situation than Kenji and probably Will as well, because I still would have been happy with 2nd or 3rd.
Yeah.
I would not have been happy with like 7th though, or I would have been like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, because you came in 6th last year.
I came in 6th last year. Yeah. Okay. So I would really only be happy with like 1st to 3rd. But yeah, even then, I was putting a lot of expectation on myself to come 1st, and that was really what the experience was about in that sense. I think for someone like Kenji, who's been in this position so many times before, he was a top seed the last Reno Nationals, and he's obviously played so many Nationals, trying so hard to win. I think all he really asks for is some empathy from people to understand what his goal is in the tournament and how it's different for most other people's. It definitely is different. Almost anyone would and should be satisfied with 5th place. But that's just not the case for him, given how much he's put into it and just what he's trying to get out of it. And
it is different, I imagine, because I think people could have more empathy for your 15 and 16 finish than for his 5th place finish.
Well, it's a different thing because no one came up to me being like, "Oh, it's fine, you won 15 games." Like, at least everyone is on the same page that I did terribly. But I think a lot of people were saying like, "Oh, this is really not so bad. Like, other things are good." And I think, and you can see in my Facebook posts as well, like I sort of wanted people to, be like, yeah, this is trash. This sucks.
Right.
Like, there's no, like, I don't need consolation. It's fine. Just, some things are trash sometimes.
Yeah, no, well, and this is where we get into some of the other reasons. So we talked a little bit about word study and
Yeah.
to some degree word finding that comes along with rustiness.
Yeah.
But there's an interesting thought that Josh Jr. expressed in that last interview about timing. So do you have a sense of what he meant there? And maybe
Yeah.
Josh Jr. can chime in, but if you can articulate it, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So timing, like, I guess the best example of timing is against Ori Swift, when he opened a second triple, and I blocked one of them, and he hit the other one with Zeppels. He hit the one that was less probable.
Okay.
Through a P, Zeppels for 212 to win the game. And that kind of thing, that's where it's not really about the blanks, it's not really about who draws what tile, it's more like what happens at what point. It's just another way of looking at luck, I guess. Instead of trying to quantify luck through all these like counting terms of like how many blanks did you draw, stuff like that, it's like
It's like synergy.
yeah, it's like, did things come together at the right moments? Like, sometimes an IU draw is going to kill your rack, sometimes it's going to save your rack. So you don't want to say, like, oh, I drew IU, that's an unlucky thing. Sometimes it's incredibly lucky.
Right.
So that's like, so timing is a bit harder to quantify. But it's just the general state of things not going right when they need to go right.
Okay, so here's the other question that Will Anderson says Zeppels was gut-wrenching to even hear about, let alone experience. Here's the other thing that was talked about in that interview was pressure.
Yeah.
So you talked a lot about how tree planting, that there were some positives in terms of mindset.
Yeah.
And the way you talked about it was compared to the previous nationals, you talked about you kind of were tight and now you thought you were going to be loose. So
Yeah.
is the idea that you still haven't found that balance, and is that a factor of pressure, experience? You're 21. Like, what are your thoughts now, having a few weeks
Yeah.
of perspective?
Well, I was hoping to figure this out, but I obviously haven't. I don't really know. I think if everyone knew how to handle this, everyone would perform amazingly.
Right.
Because it's hard, especially when you don't know why. It's hard when you sit down and try as hard as you can to play a great game, and then you just can't consistently. So I don't really know. I think pressure was a big thing. I think this is the first time I've really had to deal with putting a ton of pressure on myself, being the top seed. Even last year at Nationals, it was the first time I felt like I was a contender, but I had never cashed before. So there were a lot of things that could happen that were good. But this year, there was a much smaller set of good outcomes. And
Right.
that puts a lot more pressure on you because you have to make things happen. You're not going to be satisfied most of the time. And I think also one thing Kenji's mentioned before is there's a lot of pressure on yourself when you're doing as I was doing, which is like barely treading water for the first half of the tournament. Where like every time I would lose a game, it felt like I really
Right.
sunk below the surface.
Yeah.
Every time I won, it was like, oh my god, it's looking up. There was no sense of like continuity where I could kind of
Momentum.
relax for a bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're 10-2, you can drop a game. You're still okay. But it was like, oh my god, I dropped a game. I'm 7-6.
Okay. Josh also adds, and Kenji just showed up. Hi, Kenji.
Hi, Kenji.
Josh Jr. just mentioned that when he talked about timing, this just undercuts the entire argument. He says he was mostly trying to justify to myself why Jackson was doing so badly since I don't believe in luck. Now, I think Josh has talked about that on the show before. I know he has. Okay. So, if anybody's got any questions for Jackson, we'll take those now. But nobody's put a question in. Nobody cares.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about a lot of things that can go wrong at Nationals.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, ultimately, I think the public service announcement is here. Like, I made you come and do this. You didn't say, oh, can I come on and talk about my 31 games?
Yeah.
What's your theory when someone comes up to you and tells you how they blew a game or how they, got destroyed in a tournament? What are your thoughts there?
When someone tells me how they did,
Yeah.
I'm like, when are they going to stop talking?
Right. You should see what it's like when you take a job that literally has the description where people are supposed to come up and tell
Oh,
you how
boy.
they did in a game. But when I'm working national, so everybody's welcome to do that. Okay. So, let's talk about going forward.
Sure.
Okay, let's put that. I appreciate you going through that. I'm going to take the hot seat off of here and give you a break. No more fire graphics. All right.
I like those.
So, let's talk about going forward. One question that I have that I've joked about, but I haven't really done an analysis. And you run up to 2160.
I wasn't 21. It was 21.
30?
Yeah, something like that.
2129.
2129.
Yeah, okay, sorry. 2129. Do you feel like there was any sort of selectivity in the types of tournaments that you were going to?
No.
No.
There was nothing. I was not trying to like farm rating or anything. That was not a thing.
Okay.
I would go to
And
all
tell
the ones I
people what
could.
you mean. I know exactly what you mean by farm rating.
I
but
mean,
tell
farm
people
rating,
what
like-
that means.
Finding a field that you think you can destroy really easily, and then going to that one.
Right, and farming would be like grinding out a long tournament against players at a much lower rating point to pick up ratings like one at a time over like a consistent.
Yeah.
That would describe farming ratings. to
Yeah.
me, right.
That's mostly the way to do it, I guess. But no, I wasn't trying to do that.
Okay,
Rating
so-
was whatever.
All right, so that's your claim. So let's talk about going forward. Do you see any difference in what your selection process for tournaments that you want to play? Is there? We talked about pressure and adjusting sort of mental, preparedness. Do you see yourself trying to put yourself into more pressured situations?
Oh,
Like, is
interesting.
that a thing? And also, we'll talk about lexicon in a minute, but
Yeah.
just let's talk about pressure
Yeah.
situations like larger tournaments, stronger fields. Is that something that you could see yourself trying to seek out, or maybe not so much?
So the thing is, I already seek those out anyways, so I absolutely will seek them out, but it hasn't been because I want to, like, get that experience more. But now that you mention it, I think that would be a good experience. I don't know what other tournaments there are. I haven't played that have these high pressure situations. Maybe I need to do more series against Josh, because those are always
Right.
pretty high pressure. So
Well,
if anyone wants a high
I mean,
stakes series,
yeah.
maybe that's what we need to do. So
sure.
I'll put that request out there. Come out
All
and
right,
make your
I think
offers.
that's good. So I think we should talk about lexicon because
Yeah.
that is an area where you could find additional pressure.
Yes.
But it's not like you could achieve some more experience in that pressure and then bring it back because
Yeah.
switching lexicons and going back and forth is a tricky business.
Yeah, I can't do that. I don't think I'm capable.
Well, I
of
mean,
doing
you've
that.
done it before.
It didn't work very well. I'd get confused very often. Yeah, like mad respect to Will, who can seem to do it really consistently. That's kind of
And
amazing.
all the mad respect to Winter as well.
Yeah,
who
for sure.
is like, maybe not quite at Will's level of rating, but
Yeah,
killing
give him
it.
6 months.
Yeah.
Watch out. But yeah, my plan is to switch to Collins in September.
Really?
Yeah, that's the plan. It's not.
September. That's like a couple weeks away.
Yeah, it's like 10 days away or something.
So Ottawa this weekend. By the way, you should come to Ottawa.
Yeah.
But after Ottawa, that's it.
Well, I'm not saying I won't play TWL, but I'm going to start studying Collins in September. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's the plan.
And part of this is looking towards 2020 and Alchemist Cup.
Yeah, that's like the main reason I would say.
Okay. What are there any worlds on the table that you're looking at? You're not looking at Goa, right?
I can't do Goa, no.
Okay.
But sure, like, I mainly Alchemist. That's been what's on my mind. I don't know when Worlds is in 2020, but that would be
Right.
cool. And I feel like it's time. I feel like this tournament was. I think I was saying I was going to switch after this tournament, anyways. Felt like a good time, I guess now, and it gives us enough time to learn the words and get a really good team going in Canada for 2020.
Right. Well, and that's that would certainly be exciting to watch you in that environment. I think
Yeah.
Alchemist is super exciting and is an elite level field. I don't know what
But
my
yeah,
thoughts exactly on Alchemist are.
Well, my thoughts are that it's amazing and I want to go.
Okay.
But I don't think it will be that high pressure, but I'm not sure.
Right.
Obviously talk to someone who's played it before, but I feel like personally, when I'm on a team, I rarely feel much pressure at all.
Right.
Just because, your ego's not as invested in it personally. If
Yeah.
the team goes down, it's a team going down, not yourself. So I feel like it'll be an interesting experience because the stakes are very high and it's something you really want to win, but at the same time you probably feel slightly less personally invested than at
Yeah, I
like
think it
Nationals.
probably depends on your makeup. I feel like
Yeah.
Conrad really felt it after the last Alchemist.
He seemed to, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, if you're a narcissist like me, then
Right.
then it's
King's Cup?
nationals or nothing. Sure, like all these
I'm
tournaments
going
I
to go
want
to
to do.
King's Cup one of
Really?
these years.
My plan is to tree plant again next summer, so that would
Oh.
interfere. The hope is to do it in New Zealand next year.
Okay. So, and you would ignore advice from people like me, which would be like, I don't understand. Why aren't you sticking around? NWL, win the championship, and then switch.
Well, the championship, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows if it's going to happen at all? Who knows, like, I mean, this year is smaller than ever. At a certain point, I feel like TWL is going to not be the main
NWL.
division. NWL is not going to be the main division anymore, and that's going to be tough because then it won't mean as much to win. So I think I want to help that progression as well, if I can. If
Interesting.
a bunch of us can switch and make Collins the real deal.
Okay, and so probably going over to Collins and thinking about
Yeah, that's
Alchemist
the
and
plan.
stuff like that. It's like an exciting thing, like a new beginning, kind of.
Yeah, sort of. I'm still in a really weird place with Scrabble, honestly. I haven't really felt that motivated. I honestly haven't felt that motivated to study all year, actually, in 2019. And I think that may have actually been a big contributing factor. I was sort of coasting on good word knowledge for most of 2019, and then it caught up to me at Nationals.
We do have a question. Zev
Sure.
would like to know, who do you think will be your teammates for the Alchemist Cup?
Okay.
Give us the top 5 Canadian players.
So my prediction of who
Yes.
it's going to be, okay, my prediction is going to be Adam Logan, me, Josh Sokol,
And then who?
and then Evan Borofsky,
Mm.
and I'm going to say Matthew Tunnicliffe. And
Okay.
that's partly, shout out to Matthew, you should play.
Is he playing in Ottawa this weekend?
I think he is. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Okay. Well, you want to tell us anything else? How's life going otherwise?
Life is good.
You went on a hell of a trip after
Yeah,
Nationals.
went on a
Can
road
you talk
trip.
about
Yeah,
that?
me, Matt Kennick, Eli, Matt's boyfriend, and Josh Sokol all went on this road trip down the West Coast. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it was a fun trip. You know, it was very
I
relaxing.
should have brought some pictures
Yeah, like
from the trip.
you can see I
But
posted
you
a bunch
can-
on Facebook.
Yeah, you
like
can, a bunch. They're like hundreds. You can go to Jackson's Facebook and see pictures. It's not, you don't have to scroll that far to get to that
yeah.
section.
No, it was just like a relaxing trip. It was like unwinding. It was a road trip. It was pretty good.
All right.
Now I'm just buckling down for my last year of school.
Really?
That's the word on the street. It's my last year. Well, last year in undergrad.
What do you, oh boy. What are you studying?
I'm in cognitive science.
Right. And what does that mean?
It's like the study of the mind, sort of like philosophy and psychology, linguistics. all
Seems
sorts
like a
of things.
theme, ladies and gentlemen. Going back to Nationals prep. Okay. I think that's going to do it. You know, if you're ever looking
Yeah.
to take a break from Scrabble but still want to talk about Scrabble, the chair is always open, Jackson. And I want to appreciate you coming in and being willing to talk through this
Yeah.
because, you know, it's a sore subject, and other people who've had bad nationals, they don't have me on their ass trying to get them to come in and relive it. So,
It was kind of cool reliving through these videos and seeing exactly where the breaking points were. Yeah, it was cool.
all right, that's going to do it, folks. Thanks, everybody, for watching. NASPA Tonight will be back in 2 weeks. Portia says that she was so jealous of Crater Lake visit.
Yeah, that is.
What's so special about Crater? Oh, you
It's
haven't
just like
seen Blue.
you have not seen blue until you've been to Crater Lake.
Right. I went through all your Facebook photos. Okay. NASPA Tonight will be back in 2 weeks with an all-new guest, I mean, unless you want to come back, and all new topics. And I really want to thank people for tuning in, for watching, and yeah.
Looks like we're over time.
Support your local director. They're working hard for you, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.